was doing pretty much all documentary up until that point. It's what I wanted to be doing. Oh my God. Here comes Momo. Momo's a cat. Say hi, Momo. Momo. Momo says hi.
Okay. Anyway,
Aw.
continue.
So I had this kind of big revelatory moment. I had been through a lot of personal stuff, and I wanted to do narrative.
Yeah.
This is like a crazy visual to have at this moment
Momo's
with
age
the
is just fully on cam.
yes, Momo's butt in Tristan's face.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Best Boys podcast, where we pull back the curtain on what it's like to be independent filmmakers. I'm Cody McLeod Rogers, writer, director, and producer.
And I'm Tristan Au, director of photography and producer.
And we are the creative directors at Foreground Productions.
If you like what you hear, like and subscribe to the podcast for more.
Welcome to
to
B-roll.
B-roll.
All right, that was a little harder than I thought.
Yeah.
So what is the beverage? For those who don't know, well, I guess nobody would because this is episode 1 of B-roll.
I don't know who would know.
B-roll at Best Boys, the BBB, Better Business Bureau podcast. Basically, in the B-roll podcast, each time we're going to have a beverage that we are drinking.
B beverage, Best Boys beverage, BBB.
BB.
We're gonna have a BBB.
Yes.
Best
The
boy. There's gonna be a Best Boys
Producer
beverage
Shelby is
for the Best Boys B-roll episode. BBBE. BBBE.
okay.
episode.
Great. So the point.
So we're drinking.
Yes, we pick a beverage for each episode of B-roll, and we tell a story that we probably did together ultimately, and then
It's inspired by the beverage.
Well,
Or the beverage is inspired by
the
the story.
and at the end we will explain why we're drinking that
Yes.
beverage.
Wonderful.
That was like a 7-minute long.
I think they got the gist.
Okay, great.
I think they got the gist.
So today is Miller Lite,
Mm.
which is a fine pilsner.
Hell yeah.
I've heard. Miller.
Hell yeah, brother. And we're gonna talk today about not even the first, but like the third project.
But the first bigger
The
project
first big project
that we did together.
Yeah, that we worked on together.
This was a film called The Story We Wrote. So when we say The Story We Wrote, we didn't write the story together. It is just the name of the film.
It's a title. It's a
It's a
title.
title. So The Story We Wrote was a film that I kind of conceived of, a couple years
Long
ago.
time ago.
Two and a half,
Yeah.
30, 40 years ago,
Yeah.
something like that.
30, 40 years in the making.
Yes. I'm 22, by the way.
Yes.
Anyway. And the story
Sexualized in the
follows this main character who's dealing with his father who has dementia.
Dimensions.
So we follow the main character
Different dimension.
whose father has dementia,
Yes.
and this main character is trying to get his father to not only remember himself, his son, but also his father's own story.
Yes.
And the main character does this by creating a film about his father's life.
And it's the film that isn't it like the film that he always wanted to make? Like his father
Yes.
was a filmmaker and he wrote
Yes.
something and he wrote a story and basically the son is trying to finish that,
Yes.
you know?
So that's the gist of the film.
Yeah.
And it was quite the time.
Well, the best way to put it was how Cody pitched it to me was, this is the Fablemans meets the father meets After Sun. And
3 great films,
I
by the
was
way. Highly
like-
recommend.
okay, yeah. And then we did it and I was like, wow, this is really that.
Yeah.
Which was I loved it. I love stories about like father-son relationship. I love
Yeah.
stories about making movies, you know.
Yeah.
8.5 is one of my favorite movies. And so that's a great filmmaking movie.
Oh, it's fantastic.
So I
I
remember initially what happened was you first shot. I actually remember you asking me before you went and did your first round of shooting, because that was without me. Tristan, I'm gonna do this rain rig. And I was like, what?
Mind you, I had no money.
Yeah.
Literally
This was
$0.
the $0 venture, which we just
It was not in good financial
we just
standing.
recorded a video about how to start a short film, and this was a really good example of like how to do a film without any money, right? Like,
It was an expedition.
use your community and use it. Anyway, so I remember you going to me and be like, I'm going to make this rain rig. There's a scene in the rain and it's like outside and I'm going to make it rain. I'm going to have like a pipe system, like water, and it's going to like spray down and stuff. And I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like I remember, I think you asked me at first, like, how would you do it? I'm like, I have no idea.
They don't teach you how to make rain rigs in film school.
They really don't. Like they can
should
barely
add it.
teach you how to use a tripod in film school, so they're not going to teach you how to make a rain
do a
rig.
rain rig.
So
It was a lot.
yeah.
No,
So how did that first round of shooting go?
it went
Because I wasn't there.
You know, look. So a couple things to remember about this production is this was going into my senior, well, both of our senior year.
Yeah, yeah.
It was going into our senior year of college, and excuse me, I was burping. Miller Lite.
I had just
Best
Oh, sorry.
Best-
Well, I
best
had
for
just
burping.
finished. I had just finished Omakase. You had just finished My Kingdom Come.
My Kingdom Come.
Which I helped shoot as well.
Yeah,
That
and I really wanted to.
was fun.
I'm drawn to like rural America. I grew up in rural America. Grew up in a tiny little town just outside of Chicago, and you know, then I moved to DC and I lived in a city, and I honestly I had a lot happen to me. You know, junior year of college and sophomore year of college, and that summer, and the late spring of junior year was just like a huge revelatory moment in my life where, you know, I was doing pretty much all documentary up until that point. It's what I wanted to be doing. Oh my God. Here comes Momo. Momo's a cat. Say hi, Momo. Momo. Momo says hi.
Okay. Anyway,
Aw.
continue.
So I had this kind of big revelatory moment. I had been through a lot of personal stuff, and I wanted to do narrative.
Yeah.
This is like a crazy visual to have at this moment
Momo's
with
age
the
is just fully on cam.
yes, Momo's butt in Tristan's face.
Yeah.
Anyway,
She likes to do that.
He's talking about his emotions.
about my emotions.
About that hellish year. Yeah, that sucked.
Yeah, you know, it was just it was really hard. It was really tough to go through, and I really switched to narrative filmmaking.
Yeah.
And it ultimately, as a kid, it's what I always wanted to do. But this story was very therapeutic for me. It was really me recalling a bunch of memories that, you know, I had with my dad, who is great and wonderful and doesn't have dementia, and he's kicking.
He's good. He's
doing
good. He's chill. He's
awesome.
good. He's good.
He's
Well,
fantastic.
He's
Yeah,
got
my
it. He's
dad
a
married Tristan and Shelby.
and he's a
Yeah.
YouTuber. We can link
Yes,
that.
he is a YouTuber.
The channel.
What's his channel?
Steve Rogers Outdoors.
Yeah.
Steve Rogers Outdoors. You should look him up.
If
on
anything, he needs to shout out us.
Yes, for real.
Because
YouTube. He's doing better.
he's the real. Yeah. He's the star.
You know, but I embarked on this journey to reach something emotionally in me that I hadn't done before, and I feel like I'm pretty open with my emotions, but the way I'm open through my emotions is through my filmmaking. I'm very emotional in the things that I write most of the time, and this came from a place of, well, like, what if I get older and I didn't do what I really wanted to do? Is kind of like where that idea developed from.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, is I go back to my hometown and film this in my hometown with my dad as an actor, with a ton of different people around the
Your
community.
mom as
acting, and
an
my mom as an
actor.
actor.
Yeah.
We shot in so many locations, but going back to the rain rig, I had this scene that takes place where the main character meets this like random woman in the rain because cinema.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
remember.
It was kind of like the catalyst for the rest of the story. So we go through and we set up this rain rig. I recruit my grandfather. Shout out to Bob. Love you, Bob. And he builds this like rain rig out of PVC pipe and
Yeah.
drilled holes in it, ran a hose up to it,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Uh-huh.
It definitely worked. Unfortunately, and not everybody knows this yet, that scene is cut from the film.
It's like it's funny.
So-
It's so funny. Like the hardest setup like
Was
scene
cut.
is always
Oh
cut,
my God.
which that is.
It's
that
a
is
point, right?
Unfortunately,
Like, is it absolutely needed for the film for it
that
to be raining
happened-
right now?
and that
No.
happens. You know that happens. Yeah.
So anyway, there was this round of shooting that went pretty well. I recruited one of my best friends growing up, a very talented actor, to like help me run the camera because guess who the main character in this was? Who the actor was?
It was you. It
It
was
was
you
me.
casted yourself. Well, you casted yourself, right?
This
And-
film was the quintessential. You're film students. You take the summer to make something.
Yes.
You run and gun.
You have $0.
$0.
Yes.
Like kind of a crappy script, and you just do it for the sake of doing it.
Yeah.
So I go there in June and do the thing, and then I'm like, Tristan, I gotta have you on board. you gotta be the DP. And I
that's-
asked you.
Yeah, and then we scheduled another flight out there.
On Southwest, shout
Yes, on Southwest.
Southwest
It's my first time
Airlines.
flying Southwest.
out. Got the low summer fare, $59. Sale
It
ends
was-
August 1st.
It was so fun to be there. It was so interesting. It's the first time I've been in Coal City. I don't know
Yeah.
when I'd ever go to Coal City. I grew
Which
up
is my
in,
hometown,
Yeah,
Coal City.
I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is kind of Midwest, but it's
No, that's like the big time
it's
compared to
it's
Coal
pretty
City.
yeah, it's pretty big compared to Coal City, I will say. And I was just excited because that was like the first time I'd really be the DP for something.
Yeah.
Like I had just shot my first short, Omakase.
Which is fantastic.
Thank you. Which that was I was the writer, director, producer. But I think I'd always kind of wanted to get into the camera department. I'd always wanted to DP a project, but I was like really like I was feeling that sort of anxiety. Like, I don't know if I could just shoot something. Like I don't know if I could be confident as a DP.
Yeah.
I didn't know how my workflow. I didn't know like I hadn't shot listed anything ever before. And so first I think the first time I really felt confident in my skills was for My Kingdom Come when we were shooting in that church, which I had so much fun doing.
Yeah.
And I like crawled around the rafters like a little rat.
Oh,
with my
and
with
the sirens
camera
are coming
and-
for you.
And
In B-roll, we don't cut it.
No.
Yeah.
Sirens are coming.
oh they got me.
Oh,
Yeah.
there it is.
City folks.
So
Yeah.
red fire truck, folks. It's a red one.
We then
Um,
Well, in Coal City, they're orange.
That's so
They're not
weird,
red fire
really?
trucks.
That's
Yeah.
so weird.
It's really interesting. Oh, and
Um,
the Band-Aid box. That's what we called it.
The
I
Band-Aid
used to be an
box?
EMT, and we would call the ambulances Band-Aid boxes.
that's pretty funny.
Anyway,
But yeah, so like there was that, which was with you, obviously. And I loved shooting that part in the church. And so after My Kingdom Come, the story we wrote was really like my opportunity to feel like I was a DP, feel like I was making creative choices, not just being like a camera operator or not just, being there to hold the camera, like actually decide on how things are framed, how things are lit.
Mhm.
And again, we had very little resources. We had a couple of your like aperture panel lights, a couple
Yeah,
of
the
little
MC minis,
a couple little panels, from your dad and a dream.
and the dream.
So everything was pretty low light, pretty I think it all turned out really nice, honestly.
Oh, it's shot beautifully.
we had
the
your-
images are stunning.
Thank you.
Why don't you put
We
some
had
stills
your
up?
well
Yeah,
cut in
cue
some stills.
For
Yeah,
those
we'll put
listening
in
just
some,
on
we'll put in some stills or
Spotify
some-
or
yeah.
your choice of podcasts, there's stills showing right now.
Yeah, so
and
click
they're-
on the YouTube
they're
video. Go to
pretty.
the YouTube video.
Yeah, they're pretty.
We were shooting on your R5.
Yep,
the
Canon R5,
Canon
great
R5.
camera.
So it's like really like run and gun stuff. DSLR. going through your batteries, absolutely murdering your batteries.
Oh my
Like,
God.
the minute we would get home after like shooting at a location, immediately throw those batteries on the charger because we were like really eating through them. You know, we're shooting in like, I don't know if we're shooting 8K, we're shooting 8K raw, which is what the max settings like the R5 can go to, right? 8K raw and like C-Log 2 or 3, I don't remember. You know, I had brought my monitor, right? So at least I could like monitor it. We had a little shoulder rig, which I still use today. It's the same shoulder rig.
It was.
And we were on we borrowed my friend's Pentax lenses. Like
the vintage
Pentax
ones,
Super
yeah.
Tacomars, which was very kind. Yeah, my friend Fernando Roja, great DP, brilliant DP, absolute genius. I love him. So.
It was, we were fortunate to kind of do that there because my dad is a YouTuber, right? He does have some, like, he has, like,
so we had, like, sound gear from him. Yeah.
Some sound gear from him.
Yeah.
Like a basic, Rode NTG2 or something like
a boom
that.
pole.
Yeah, a boom pole.
That's huge, guys. The boom pole is huge.
Yeah,
And a mixer and,
But I remember the opening shot of the film, which I had originally shot back in June when you were not there, I couldn't get it quite right.
You had a very specific vision. I remember
had a very, very specific vision for it. And I couldn't get it. And then I get you there and I'm like, oh, Tristan's here. He'll get it. No problem. And we film it and it's not working.
Yeah.
We still can't get it. Luckily, my great uncle Buddy, shout out, love the man, farmer. If you buy corn, maybe he farmed it.
He's got a lot of corn.
He's got corn.
He's got quite the corn.
Yes. But he, some of this film is shot on Super 8.
Yeah.
And there's this scene where the characters watch back what the main character had filmed to show his dad, right, on a Super 8 projector, which is a whole nother story of trying to get a vintage Super 8 projector through TSA.
Yeah.
Which, mind you, counts, I guess, as a large electronic device.
Well, I remember we had a whole suitcase for this film projector. Like the only thing in the suitcase was the film projector and like some clothes so that it wouldn't bang around.
Yeah.
Like, that's all that was in the suitcase.
So we flew all the way from DC back to Coal City, Illinois with a Super 8 film projector from a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And then
Which worked. It worked.
Great. It worked great.
It was awesome.
Once we figured out how to use a Super
8
projector.
Yeah. Which was on the first day of filming, obviously.
But, we're over at my great uncle's farm where we're doing a lot of filming. And he was like, oh, like, I actually had a Super 8 projector here. And I was like, well, that's great to know. But we go down into the basement, which I have so many distinct memories of. Like, he used to have, we'd go over there, for holidays, meet all the cousins, that kind of stuff. And he had a large, like a life-size Coca-Cola bottle. Like,
so funny.
And it was just filled with smaller Coca-Cola bottles.
Yeah.
It was, anyway, so we go down into this basement. And he opens up the closet and he has like a Super 8 projector and a bunch of other Super 8 stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he had this film light, which if you live in the digital world, it takes a lot of light to film on actual film.
Yeah, on physical film.
Like, you're watching something like Casablanca or something like that, and it's this really dark, moody scene, but for the actors and for the actual like filming of it, it's brighter than day in there. It just it requires so much light, and
film is very light hungry.
Yes,
especially like 8mm, 16mm, like 35mm.
So much light.
Actually, 35mm is the most, but it's hard.
And so he had this film light that was used where you would plug it in if you were using your at-home Super 8 camera to like shine. So then it was enough light for the Super 8 camera to work. So we take this light almost accidentally, not thinking
it's like a handheld light. It's like a light with like a trigger on it.
Exactly.
Like with a grip. So
and
it's like you can point as that, like,
So we go fast forward back to filming the first scene, and we remember we have this super bright.
It's
film
like 1,200 watts. I think.
Like
it's ridiculous. It's hot.
And what we're going for is we're filming in an attic, It's a really small attic. The character can't stand up all the way, and there's all these like vintage old toys, right? It's my grandparents' attic, and the opening shot is the main character, like opening the door to the attic, and just this cascade of light coming in through beams, and the main character is silhouetted, right? And it's this very cinematic, very, very Spielbergian.
Very like it lived in like the 80s sort of.
Very 80s
like
look.
Dramatic lighting, hard light, you know, kind of look.
And so we get this light. I call up in one of the most incredible theater directors, and incredible humans I know, Jack Mystic, who was our theater director growing up and just mentor and good friend of mine. And I'm like, hey, do we have a fog machine from the high school that we could bring to my grandparents' attic to get the lighting or the fog?
So we want the rays.
Yes, we need the rays. So we get that. Then in this, it's hot. I don't know. It's 90-something degrees, and that attic has no air conditioning.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's hot, summer, rural America, sweating bullets.
Yeah.
And Jack is there. The actor is there. Eventually, the actor's mom comes because the actor is like 10 or something.
Yeah, like a kid.
And I'm outside of the attic. There's this tiny little window, and there is the old satellite tower where you put the satellite dish. And I'm climbed up on this ladder, hanging outside with a light, pointing it through
like the window
to get the lighting right. And it is like I actively burned a hole in the screen.
Yeah,
like
it was
that hot.
Yeah,
and I'm hanging out there. We've got radios. We're talking.
Yeah, we're walking, right? Like I'm inside the attic with the gimbal, because this is a gimbal shot. It's like a tracking sort of dolly, like push forward. And so because the attic is so short, I'm pretty short, but the attic is really short.
Yeah.
Like the kid is totally fine crawling around there. I am not. So I'm like hunched over. I'm in the most ungodly, like hunched over position, holding the
with
gimbal.
a Ronin.
With the Ronin, yeah, with the RS2, with the R5 on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my back is breaking, and I gotta like move forward. So I can't even be on my knees. I gotta be like on my feet because I gotta walk forward and track this kid.
Which I would have felt bad if I wasn't the one outside the window dangling off of a tower.
The both of us were like in excruciating pain.
Safety first, they say. Not if there's no budget.
And
just kidding. Safety
and we
first.
got it
here.
though. We got it.
We did well. After continually still getting it wrong, then we moved the light. We did it. We got the shot.
Yeah,
right?
we got the shot. I think it looks great.
It looks incredible. It looks unreal.
And yeah, like. And then after that, we did the reverse where he knocks down the attic door and like we kind of like, it's funny, like there's like light coming in from both sides.
Yeah, there's some
and so like there's just light
issues.
everywhere,
Yeah,
but like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter,
He's in heaven.
Like the sun is everywhere. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
Nobody thinks about that.
No.
Right? Like it's like that quote. It's like somebody asks, I forget if it was Peter Jackson or whatever, but like there's like the scene in Return of the King where it's like, where's the light coming from? It's like, oh, it's coming from the direction of the music, or so, I don't know, something like that. Where it's like, sometimes you don't
everywhere.
Sometimes you don't think about it when like the story tells you, like convinces you that you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and
yeah, so that was the attic scene.
But it was. I think the coolest part about it was, again, because this was at like such a kind of in many ways turning point in my personal life, in my professional life, in my career. It was such an amazing experience to have one of my closest friends to experience my hometown in such a reflective manner. Like, we're filming there, we're capturing elements of how I grew up and where I grew up and the people that raised me, with one of my closest friends who never experienced any of that. It was just, we filmed in the intermediate school, which I realized isn't a common thing throughout the whole country, but that's 4th and 5th grade. And our intermediate school is this super old building. I don't even remember when it was built, but like, I think the late 19th century, I think, is when it was built. It's been there definitely at least since the 1920s. We're filming this super old school building where I went to school for 2 years, and I did My music class is
and
exactly
all
where we
the
filmed.
all the people who work there know who you are
Yeah.
by name. They remember you. They remember your brother. They know your parents.
It's a small
It,
town.
and it was like so sweet to see that. I think like, you know, there is something really beautiful about like such a well knit community, a small
Yeah.
community, and
Coal City doesn't have
this
much, but what it does have is community.
yeah,
You know?
and like that's something said about a lot of places in America, like the small town America, that
Yeah.
you don't really get to hear about and
No.
talk about. You know, me, I come from a big city, you know, and you don't always feel that.
No.
Like, you know, some of my favorite movies are movies about people who live in big cities but feel like disconnected by everybody.
Yeah.
But it's just, that's a real feeling, you
Yeah.
know. It's sometimes that like
It-
that closeness is really cool to see and
It's-
experience. But yeah, like,
It's interesting the inverse. So often that in big cities, you know, like you said, you carefully observe how so many people or so many stories or stories you're really drawn to, or people in cities with people all around them feeling
and
alone.
they feel alone. Yeah.
Whereas the opposite is kind of in small towns and communities where you are kind of alone. You have such a strong community.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, the like dichotomy.
Do you want to
of it.
talk about the when we filmed that what's it called? Corleones?
Oh, Corleones! Oh
Because,
my goodness!
well, because that was
They got
actually
great bread.
that was some of my favorite stuff that we got from that. Yeah,
Shout out Corleones, not sponsored.
When we got there, I remember we were. Well, you called.
Not even. I walked in the front door.
Yeah, and just asked, right? Like,
Yeah.
asked the guy, like, "Hey, can we film here, like tomorrow or whatever?" Right?
Like that's the thing when you're
and
trying.
they're like, "Yeah, you know, it's Corleone's is an Italian restaurant."
Yeah. Oh, if you're
And-
ever in the 60416 or 60450, you know, Northern Illinois exurbs near Chicago, gotta swing by Corleones. Let me tell you, it's unbelievable. Side point, doesn't matter. Does matter. They're good bread. So that's one of those things though, is like when you're just trying to make a film, at the end of the day,
die.
the
end of the die.
Ferris Bueller.
Yeah, that was
Australia
at the end of the die.
Oh boy. Anyway,
The beer's kicked in.
yeah.
The Australian beer.
At the end, this beer's from Milwaukee, man. Which, don't even get me started on the Green Bay Packers. That's
Is it
not.
really?
So this is,
Oh, that's from
you know,
Milwaukee.
drinking beer from Wisconsin is.
No, we're Bears fans in this.
We're
house.
Bears fans in this house,
What?
in forever and
No.
always.
Go
Bear
Bears.
down. The Bears. Okay. So at the end of the day, when you're trying to make a film, when you're just trying to get started, when you want to be a director,
Mhm.
you just have to do the thing.
Yeah.
And
Find a way.
and find a way, and it's using the resources you have. And I knew the only way for me to make a project of this scale would be doing it back home, where you know everybody, every
Yeah.
business owner.
Yeah.
You know, it also helps that my grandfather owned a plumbing company, you know, in Morse. We filmed this in Morse and Coal City. They're right next to each other. And so he knows everybody. So if I just say, "Oh, I'm Bob Rogers' son," you know, everybody is like, "Oh, come on in."
Yeah. Exactly.
But Corleone's was interesting because it's the perfect example of the best way to get an answer is to walk in there and ask.
Mm-hmm.
Corleone's small town restaurant, you know, there's no email.
Yeah.
I don't even think there's a website, you know.
Right.
But I walked in and I said, "Hey, my name is Cody. I'm Bob Rogers' son. You know, me and my friend are here making a film over the summer, and we really want to film here. You know, what will it take for us to film here?" And then I think his name is Dave. You know, the person at the counter goes, "Dave." Dave walks up. I say the same thing. He goes, "Great. So like tomorrow at 10?"
Yeah.
Like, it's just when you're surrounded by a community that just loves you because you're from there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best resource you can possibly have. And then to take, nothing is ever filmed there. I mean, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles part of it was filmed in Braidwood, which is just like down the street. But like nothing has ever been filmed.
Yeah, exactly.
And so to bring filmmaking to my home community was, excuse me, I burped in a profound thought, was just something really special.
Yeah, I bet that's really emotional.
You know, it's extremely emotional, and I can't wait to film another project there.
Oh, absolutely.
And people keep asking. Just yesterday, my dad called me. He goes, "People keep asking me, when is this going to be out? Because this film still
it's in post.
Side point.
It's still,
it's in post.
Still in post.
He goes, people keep asking me. You know, people just want to know because they don't care about how good it is.
Mm-hmm. They just want to see.
But ultimately, when we put together a screening, and the three of us, producer Shelby, you know, me and you, are there, showing this film to people, it's going to be a magical experience.
Oh, absolutely.
And we might have to include the rain rig scene, but
I think you're really obligated to.
I know.
I think it.
Yes.
What was really funny about Corleone's as well is like, you know, you were pretending like you worked there, like you was the actor, like the
I'm talking. I just cleaned my Corleone shirt they gave me.
Yeah,
I did my
and
laundry
the guy,
for the first time
the
in 2
guy
weeks.
was like, "Oh, if you're gonna work here, you're gonna need a shirt," and so he gives you a Corleone shirt and just lets
Which
you
is a
keep it.
prized possession in the 6045L.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was just it was such a great experience. And I learned a lot. I learned, you know, how to just again, when you are we worked a lot on that shoot. We were so busy, you know, we were shooting scenes whenever we had the chance to. And
all over, gosh, how many locations?
All over the place.
A dozen?
All over the place. We would be hitting like 3 or 4 locations every day, you know, at minimum. And when you are working that fast and you have to get a lot of scenes, you have to find, and you haven't properly shot listed, you haven't properly scheduled, you have to find a way to tell the story. And I think the
story changed while we were filming
Oh, absolutely. It did. Like that definitely taught me that everything that you do is for the story, you know, that you have to really have a good idea of what the story is about in order to tell it visually in a way that is right. And that means sometimes making, you know, the split-second decisions of like, how are we going to shoot this? We don't have much time.
No.
Like, I remember we shot in like a basement of a church, you know, and we didn't have much time to do that. So, and it was like a montage scene as well. So, we had to figure like, we would think of like sort of editing ways that we could stitch things together, right? Like thinking about it, like, creatively, like how are we going to film this much stuff in this little time? And I think we did a really good job at telling the story visually, at just being smart with our decisions, and ultimately it looked really great.
Yeah, you know, and it's also crazy how many actors were in it.
Yes, a lot of actors.
Oh my gosh, so many actors, over a dozen. Gosh, I don't know what the final count is, and many of them kids. Yeah. Many of them kids. And so, you know, I'm working with, again, Jack, who was our theater director and taking theater kids in our program from Coal City, which has a really incredible program, and just using the costumes from the theater department, you know, and it's, I think I've said the word quintessential multiple times here. Maybe not. I don't know. But on just every aspect, to me, that's what filmmaking is. That's what it's about. You know, it's about having personal experiences with people you love, creating something beautiful that is going to impact people. And the process, the journey of it is forever more important than the final product.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And just, it was this summer. We didn't have school. We were running around making a film on hot summer days in the middle of nowhere. And I wish that's what Hollywood was. Like, I wish it was just you and your closest friends going out and doing something, you know, because that is the core. And if you love doing that, you're gonna be a good filmmaker.
Yeah, like if you can produce, work that you're proud of in those conditions, based on, we are running off of passion alone. That is the only.
Not even air
thing-
conditioning.
No,
Just
or
passion.
even or food. Really,
Yeah.
we're like sometimes we were very
Tristan
we were very
yes.
malnourished. Huh?
Passion and pastrami.
Passion and pastrami. Well, it wasn't pastrami. It was, what was it? Tristan, a incredible cook. Let me tell you, the other day he made burgers for 4th of July, and I sat on the floor for 45 minutes seeing a variety of deities.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
But Tristan, because we had no time to eat, made just these killer bagel sandwiches.
Oh yeah, out of like the only things it was like cream cheese.
Because we were staying at my grandparents
and,
because they were like out of town for the second
Yeah.
part of filming.
I could have made spaghetti. I didn't know they had spaghetti. But anyway,
We need to wrap pretty soon, but I think
Great.
a good button could be you all talking about
Chili's.
your celebratory dinner.
Oh,
at
yeah.
Oh,
Chili's.
and aliens. We have to.
oh yeah, we do have to talk about the aliens.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw the alien.
Well,
So
well. I think actually we need to talk about how my whole family came out to watch the Super 8.
Yeah, that's really important.
So in this continued like notion of the story we wrote and having just this communal experience, one thing like I had previously mentioned, the final kind of scene is the two main characters watching the film that Callum, the main character, made about his father, made for his father.
And that was, I remember that scene, that final scene of the film is something that we workshopped together a lot.
Yes.
You know,
a lot.
I remember it actually ended very differently, and then we talked back and forth about it, and that's what we came to was like this watching
Something really beautiful.
Yeah, like, and yeah, so we set up the projector, and you invited all your extended family.
Well, we didn't have the footage of the Super 8 that we shot, so we had to use
like old Super
8
Yeah.
from my great uncle.
Yeah.
Of when my cousins and my dad and my uncle were all kids.
Yeah.
And so we invited my whole extended family, which is a lot
There's a lot
of people. Like
of
a
people.
lot. Like double digits.
Yeah.
Like,
A lot
and
of
we're
cousins.
out on the farm on a hot summer day, mosquitoes, lightning bugs, the soft like breeze through the corn, right? Like it's a hot summer night, and we go out to the farm and we take the Super 8 projector as we're filming the last scene of the film. Like this is it. This is wrap for the film. And we throw in the Super 8 tapes from my great uncle.
Yeah.
From when everybody, like all the adults who were there, who are now there with their kids and grandchildren, when they were kids, like Christmas Day 1985 was when we watched. And we're watching the Super 8 projector display the Super 8
footage,
onto the
yeah.
side of this
None
old
of these people have seen
farmhouse.
this footage. Yeah.
Yeah. And onto the side of this old farmhouse that
Yeah.
nobody there has ever seen this footage.
Yeah.
And everybody is just there watching and talking about, oh, I remember when Russell did this, or when Steve, God, he's such a handful. Steve's my dad. And
Yeah.
and it was truly what filmmaking is about. And I still get emotional thinking about it, and it's a core memory of mine. And to have you there to experience that was just something I will never ever forget. And I'm so grateful that you were there to experience that.
It was so beautiful. It was like, yeah, that is like I don't know, that really showed me. It's so cringe, like the power of filmmaking, but like
It's true.
it's almost like preservation, right? Like, when you create something, you're creating like a capsule in
Something
time.
that lasts forever.
Yeah, and like watching that back is really powerful. It can be really powerful.
And to take it even further, my cousins, the people there are very small town, rural America, and just because of the nature of our town, they don't get to see the opportunities necessarily with like filmmaking or that art, the town in general, but definitely my cousins, and for them to be on a set, even though it was literally just you and me and my parents and like whoever of my friends, my sister-in-law's sister. Who
Cody was running
there.
sound.
Yeah.
Like directing while running sound.
Like just to get that and to have that experience was beautiful.
Yeah.
And to then
was-
film the final scene in that moment was stunning. And then to see
The aliens.
the aliens.
The aliens.
We're not conspiracy theorists. Let me just be clear, but aliens.
We saw like I guess it's so funny. We saw like we rapped, we're like yeah. Everybody's left, right? Because there was like
It's just Tristan and
it's
I,
just
and
the
we're
two of
taking like
us.
portraits of each other, posing with like the Super 8 projector.
Yeah. We like
It's
really
super
we really
cheesy.
ham it up, and then we wrap everything, throw it, check it in the car, and then I look up and I'm like, what is that? And it's like this string of lights flying in like a line, like a perfect line. It's like a string of like 5 or 7 green lights.
And mind you, we
And,
are
like-
on a farm.
Yeah.
Like
Quintessential,
on a
perfect,
farm
perfect place to get abducted.
in the middle of
perfect place.
nowhere.
The quintessential place to get abducted by aliens.
Can we get a quintessential count? How many?
and-
like 6?
Minimum 3.
Dope.
And yeah, we're next to like the cornfield, and I'm like, oh my god, are we gonna get abducted by aliens?
It was just bizarre to have
Um,
this extremely emotional moment with, oh my god, are those aliens?
Yeah.
Turns out it was our pal Jeffrey Bezos's
Drones?
no,
Is that
Elon
a
Musk's
thing?
like
like
night lights or
or
something.
no,
I
they're
don't
like
know.
satellites,
Like satellites,
drones.
something
I
like
don't
that.
know.
I don't know.
I like to think they're aliens.
Yeah, but that's much more fun.
And
then
then
after
that, yeah, we were like so happy we wrapped.
hadn't eaten
We needed to
a vegetable in how long?
Well, I had a salad
Okay.
on the second day because I
I-
couldn't take it
I
anymore.
didn't.
No, you did not.
In true
Um,
Midwest.
I swear to God.
Upon Tristan's first day there, we had Portillo's,
Italian
beef.
beef,
cheesy,
which was delicious.
yes,
I loved
cheese
it.
fries.
Cheese fries.
Then wash that down with some Giordano's deep dish pizza with
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
mozzarella sticks
My lord.
and cheesy garlic bread.
I do really like Italian beef and deep dish pizza. It is a bit heart-stopping to eat them in the same day.
Not a true Chicagoan. What can I tell you?
I don't know if you could do that.
You know,
to yourself.
But then after the deep dish, we wash it down with
Beer and
and ice cream.
Ice
Beerio
cream,
cart.
beer, ice cream, and cake.
and cake. You know,
Yes.
so that's which is tough considering both of us can't have dairy.
Yeah, it's rough. It was rough.
But
And then
anyway,
we shot the next day. But yeah, so I remember we were like, "What is open?" Because it was like already like 10 p.m.
yeah,
maybe.
and Morse, Illinois is not
know,
known for their
Nightlife.
nightlife past like 7:15.
Yeah. And so we found the only place that was open besides the bar was Chili's.
Chili's.
So, and Chili's was my first like introduction to like Tex-Mex food. So, I was like,
It's the only
we gotta go to-
introduction needed. Place is
we gotta
heaven.
go to Chili's.
It's beautiful.
And I was just excited to eat rice, man. I hadn't had eaten rice. I hadn't eaten rice in like 3 days, 4 days. You know, I gotta have rice. And so got there, sat down. I was like, I'm having the shrimp fajitas with rice. You know, that's what I'm having. I wanted shrimp. I wanted seafood. You know, frozen or not, whatever. And we ordered like, I remember we got a drink. It was like, I got like
if you know
their
what
shaken-
antifreeze looks like,
Yeah, Cody's drink looks like the thing Godzilla drinks before he shoots his like blue beam. Like
boy, was it good
it
though.
was. I mean, it was great.
hot
it was
diggity dog,
really
that was
good. It was
fantastic.
better than mine. I just got like a margarita.
Well, mine was
and-
technically a margarita.
Yeah, it was a
Like-
nuclear margarita. And like we were like the only people there except for like another couple people. And I remember I got there and I was like I was very audibly like, man, I need some rice.
Yes, very loud.
Very loud.
And Tristan comes from Malaysia,
Yeah.
and Singapore and Coal City and Morris, Illinois is not the most diverse
No, it's not.
environment.
I will say.
And Tristan gets in,
It's
he's
okay.
just yelling for rice.
I do. I was like, rice.
And I said,
rice."
"Oh, Tristan,
And they gave it to me. Not enough though. But they gave it to me.
we may cut that part. We'll see."
It is true.
Called me, he's like, I
I was like,
Uh.
I got no rice. But that was the story, bro. That was
That was
that
the
was
story
how we did
wrote.
it. That was how we made that movie.
The story of that film. You know, it was
Um,
incredibly beautiful, and that's why we're drinking Miller Lite, because Miller Lite is the quintessential. Let's get up that quintessential count. Midwestern beer. People love
Is
their
it
Miller
not-
Lite,
Is it not like Bud Light?
but you know Bud Light's great.
I think this is better than Bud Light. I do not like
Miller
Bud
Light's
Light.
good.
This
But
is pretty
so that is why we're drinking Miller Lite, because of filming the story we wrote in Middle America in Coal City in Morris, Illinois.
Midwest,
and
baby. Midwest represent.
Midwest for
represent.
life.
Super underrepresented.
It is. In filmmaking.
Yes, the filmmaking, yeah.
But yeah, that's B-roll.
Yeah, I think we should cut.
Yeah, we should cut.
Help me.
Okay, cut. Yeah.
Woo! That's B-roll. Thanks for listening.
Yes,
Who knows what the next episode will be?
absolutely.
Best of luck to you as the listener to experience that.
Maybe tell them good luck to make their own.
Oh, producer Shelby has a
make
good
sure
point.
make sure to tell the story you wrote. Thank you. Thank you. Tell the story you wrote. Okay.
That's how we sign off. Cut.
Now we're gonna